All right, so welcome. Our February coffee break is going to be focused on college signing day, decision day, senior signing day. It goes by many names, and we're going to get into that. We're not going to cover a lot of transition resources right now. We're going to hear from practitioners on the events that they have done. But you'll get more information on transition support and even seventh year support in the future. But for now, I just want to shout out my teammates are on board for this webinar, so they will be available for technical assistance in the breakout time. But for now, we're just going to move on ahead. We don't really have any program updates at this time. I wanted to call out a couple of resources that might help support a senior signing day type of activity. And again, this probably should go towards the end after you hear about the senior signing day activity, but I didn't want people to miss this in case they left after the breakout. So just want to remind folks that these are hyperlinked, and I will be sending you the PowerPoint so you'll get more resources in your follow-up email. But one resource is we have a link to different college, armed services, continuing ed pathways. We have pennants that you can print and display on lockers in your career or counseling center, display around the school, or use in an event with senior signing day. Also, there's a toolkit, activity guide from Better Make Room, and that is filled with different ideas of activities that you could do virtually and or in person. Another resource is this link goes to our agency's website. It's WASAC has a student loan website as part of our agency, and the student loan website, if you're not familiar with it, it's newer, but the student loan website is geared for students and families, has a lot of really great information, and it includes support modules. And so if you look in if you were a student and you were going to go to this page, you might see understanding your award letters, and that actually contains a short video that is actually Washington State specific. So it talks about FAFSA and WASFA. So it has like a 2-minute video, and it has sort of like lesson plans, activity ideas. It has sample award letters, and much more. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. If you wanted to do a workshop or a advisory period, or even just message students some information, that website actually has some really cool stuff. And the videos, I mean, you could just share even on social media, very short and cool. And I believe it's also available in a couple of different languages as well. And then the last resource, and this one, it's not linked, but it's a resource that I will be emailing, is a spreadsheet that has links and articles and activity guides, sort of in the same vein as the support module that I mentioned, where it's you're doing this activity, here's a short video to share with a student. And again, these are helping them make decisions towards their pathway after high school. So I'll be sending that out. And then I think that Annie might want to say an update about 7th year, and then we'll go into our presentations.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Just a quick reminder about our 7th year transition. Not a ton to say because folks have really been filled in consistently about this information, but just want to make sure that you all know if any questions or comments come up in regards to the 7th year, to please direct them my way. I'm happy to help. And also just a reminder that if any of your students are going on to any of these institutions, to just continue reminding them and letting them know that Gear Up will be present on those campuses. So yeah, if any other questions come up, feel free to direct them my way. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Annie. I'm excited to progress with the students into this 7th year program. But before we do, we want to celebrate their big decision. We're going to start this off. We have Rosalie from West Valley who's going to kick us off. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that she can share hers and she can share how they've held this activity. Stop sharing. I apologize.
Thanks, Beth. Are you able to see my screen okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So West Valley has been doing Senior Signing Day, I want to say since 2000 and maybe 13, 14, possibly. I'm not exactly sure the exact number of years. We called it Senior Signing Day versus College Signing Day because we felt that the word college still had a lot of students thinking that maybe the event wasn't for them, depending on what their post-secondary path was. So we went with the Senior Signing Day verbiage versus the College Signing Day. So that's why we call it Senior Signing Day at West Valley High School. And it actually started, so I love sports and I considered myself to be a student athlete when I was in high school, but I do have a love-hate relationship when it comes to sports in high school. Sometimes I feel like the athletes get more recognition than our students who focus on academics do. And so one time I was watching, you know, the traditional athletic signing events where the students choose which hat they're going to go to college, and they're wonderful and they deserve to be recognized. But I really wanted to figure out a way to recognize students at West Valley. So the very first year we did our Senior Signing Day event, we actually just did it on a very small scale. We chose 20 students from the senior class and we actually created hats for them. And they actually went and chose their hat and put it on. And we got such great response from that we decided to make it bigger the next year. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. So I apologize if not all my slides fit the criteria for the 7-14-28 because I presented on this before. So I tried to modify them the best that I could. So for those of you who aren't familiar, back in 2014, Michelle Obama actually, her big initiative when she was First Lady was to increase the rate of college going students in all post-secondary pathways. And so the website that Beth mentioned is a part of her Reach Higher initiative. And so we really went on there and tried to figure out how we could do a really strong event and took a lot of our ideas from the information from that website. So one of the things that we initially started doing way back in 2011, when our first Gear Up cohort were seniors, is we started an acceptance letter wall to build that college going culture. So students submit their acceptance letters to the council. They would submit them to me that year. And I would take the original, I would make a copy of the original. I would then white out any personal information or ID. So the address, the ID, anything else that someone could misuse. And then I would create a copy of that and then attach their senior photo to it. And so I really thought after that first year that when we went back to middle school that project would go away because who would have the time to do that? And it was so well received that the school continued to do it and have done it every year since then. So that's something that I'm really proud of. And our goal for senior class this year is to have the most number of letters on our wall that actually wraps around the corner. So I just wanted to share that as an idea. And now a lot of letters don't actually even come as a official letter. Sometimes it's just an email. So I have a template in a PowerPoint where I have every college in the state of Washington and I can just change the name really easily. So that's one of the things I wanted to share before I went into my presentation. So there was 5 objectives that we had when we first started our first signing day. One was to recognize seniors who are going to all post-secondary pathways. Our second was to inspire our underclassmen for them to know that Gonzaga University was not the only college out there to be proud of going to. So it was really not just to recognize our seniors, but to inspire our underclassmen also. Our third objective was to prevent summer melt. So you're going to hear me talk about an event that we do during our signing day to pair up our post-secondary reps with our seniors so that they can have about 20 minutes to discuss what their next steps are. And then we also wanted to motivate any seniors who hadn't made a plan yet. So I'll talk to you about how we did that. And then to strengthen our overall college going culture for our entire school and community. So the first thing we do is we invite all of our post-secondary reps, and we invite them from the fall. So all the schools that we know our students are going to, we send them the invite as early as we know that we're doing it so that they can put it on their calendar. And then any other reps that a school may go to that's maybe not as much attended, I'll get them that invite as soon as a student has declared that school as their choice. So initially students would register on a paper form, but since the days of Google Forms, we now have students using Google Forms. So it's just really simple. They just let us know their information, where they plan on going. We always tell students, if you change your mind after, we're not going to come back and say anything, but we just want to know at this point, where is it that you are declaring that you want to go? And that's obviously for us to be able to pull their pennant or get their pennant for them and be able to recognize them during the event. We also send out a press release. So once we had an event that we were really proud of, we started sending out press releases. And I don't know that we've ever had the press actually come yet, but we've had other schools in the Spokane area come to see our event, which we're proud of sharing any information that we have to help others get their event started. Our calendar, the way that our event works is all the students go down to the gym. We have our ceremony, and then after our ceremony, we have our breakout sessions. So you can see on your screen everything from our military to our 4 years, our 2-year schools. After the event, every post-secondary rep is assigned a location on campus. And then if you declared that school as your choice, you go for about a 20-25 minute breakout session where that rep can then share with you what your next steps are between the spring and summer to get ready for the fall. And then any student who has not declared anything is going to be down here in our theater, where the community colleges of Spokane will be talking about all the different apprenticeship programs and 2-year programs that they have to offer. We created a certificate for our seniors, and so I'll show you during the presentation how they use that. And then we have collected over the last 10 years pennants from every college you can imagine. So the one on the left is from U of I, which we hold on to our pennants. Sadly, we don't give them to the students because it takes a lot of work to acquire all of those, but there's some schools that aren't going to have a pennant. And so our computer design class will create it and print it on vinyl, and then we can hold on to those. Last year, I want to say Eastern let all the students take their pennants with them because they were brand new pennants and they were kind of phasing out their old ones. So sometimes the colleges will bring additional ones for the students for that day. But as the students go up on stage and they share their post-secondary plan, we actually take that pennant back and hold on to it after the event. So we have a wonderful district that has a lot of great resources. So we reserve all the tables that we have, 8-foot tables from our maintenance and operations department. And we use all of our really nice athletic seats that show our logo on it. We create table tents. And we didn't do all of this necessarily the first year, but every year we kind of added to it and made it look as nice as we could. We had our students in our computer design class, our GEAR students that I worked with, created these nice banners for us. And so those are up on the back of our stage, kind of showing all the different pathways that students can choose. And I am proud that we have had a lot more trade and technical and apprenticeship programs over the last few years than we have in years past. So this is just the very first 2 years, Gear Up actually, or the year that Gear Up seniors, when it was their year, we actually rented the backdrop and the screens. And the gentleman gave us a very good deal. I want to say it was $400 for everything, which is a steal. But after that, the district decided that this was going to be an ongoing tradition for all of our students, that they just invested the money and they purchased them. And so we no longer rent any supplies. Everything we have is in-house. And that's really nice because it just showed that they were willing to invest financially in having a quality program. And then this is what our gym looks like when it's all set up. And so our leadership kids the day before will help us set up. Our custodian and maintenance team are amazing. Our technology guys are great because they have to have these two little tables on each side, or carts, have to be projecting the same information from both sides. So there's like wires going under the stages and speakers, and they just do such a nice job. And we've done it for so many years now that everybody just knows what they're doing. And then what I do is I have printed pictures kind of all around the gym so that everybody knows, okay, the first table needs to start on this line on the gym. And so it's just like, we were meeting about a month ago to talk about getting ready for the spring, and we've just done it so many years that we all know what our role is and what we're doing. So that's really nice to know we have a team that's supportive of what we're doing. So our event program, we start with the national anthem. We go into a welcome and introduction. We maybe have a video that we show. We recognize our academic and extracurricular recognitions. We did a fun mascot dance off one year. That was fun with college mascots. And then we go into our declaration, and we do take a minute to recognize those student athletes also. They're declaring where they're going to be going and playing college sports. So there's our national anthem. We had a mascot dance off. Here's our students going up and declaring their college or their post-secondary plan. They sign their certificates. Here's our breakout sessions with our post-secondary reps. A big group photo that we actually do the morning of, because we do a quick walkthrough the morning of the event before school starts, so everyone knows what they're doing. And then we do have a couple of our small traditional or alternative schools who do something on a much smaller scale. And so just some photos to show that you don't have to be a big school to do something like this. It can be on a much smaller scale also. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Rosalie. I really appreciate your mindfulness too about supporting and validating all pathways after high school. It's amazing. I see, do we have any questions right now? Did that box disappeared? All right, well, if not, we will now be hearing from White Pass. I'm going to share my screen one more time. All right, Maureen, you let me know when you want me to change slides.
Okay, thanks, Beth.
Mhm.
Well, so we at White Pass changed the name to Senior Decision Day because the first one we held in 2016, we kind of felt like some of the kids were left out, even if they were going to the workforce. We wanted everybody to be recognized. So that's how we came up with Senior Decision Day. Go ahead, Beth. So the purpose of our event is to share and celebrate our seniors. And we like to do that. I love to see that everybody else is doing the same, is sharing it during the school day so that we can show all the students. We have parents, community members, and it's just amazing how many people can show up for an afternoon event. My vision of this, when we first started it, I said, I wanted it something different. So you'll see as we go along with my photos and video that it's kind of my take on the opening games of the Olympics. And I wanted them just to be showcased, and I mean, it's their day. And so we have the 8th graders involved, and they are my escorts for each of the seniors into the gym. And yes, we have made it a red carpet event, which you will see in our video. It's become one of my favorite events now. I just love it. I always make sure that I invite a special guest speaker. We do reach out and call and have the college representatives here. Typically, they will bring swag for them, the t-shirts, all kinds of things. They've been amazing. And then we host a social after for just the parents and the community members, and we send the other students back to class. So Beth, if we can move forward. Thank you. Oh, here's my video. This is how our students come into the gymnasium at the beginning of our ceremony.
You want me to go to this link?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Beth, please.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
See, this is why I gave it to you to do, to make sure it played.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sharing screen has stopped. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, share screen. Okay, I believe you
There
can
you
see.
go.
Okay. Um, oh, it is like the Olympics.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I just want them to stand out. This year, that class we only had 18 graduating, so really wanted to make it special.
And their families are
Their
able to
families
attend.
are they're in the stands. Family, we have community people. All the staff is there, students. We don't have the sound, but you can hear them. They're just applauding like crazy, the stand is, as they come in. I think our 8th graders are just as nervous as the seniors.
But I like that you engage the younger grades because it's a great way to model and build that excitement and expectation even.
Oh, you should hear every year I get, now, do we get that? Do we get that too? And I said,
Mhm.
absolutely. So then, they just know where to sit and they come in and take a seat. See, as I said, we only had 18 that year. That's why there's just one long table for them that sits in front of the stands.
Well, as someone who went to a smaller high school, I always appreciated the, effort. Small schools, sometimes you can feel like you're left out of some of these magical experiences. So I appreciate that that you think of ways to include the students in these activities.
Thanks, Beth. Can we change the slide when you're ready? Okay, and then I make the certificates for them, and then I guess I don't have a good picture there, but they receive a pennant from the school. I get the little ones for them, and then on their certificates, it'll have the logo of the school, and that's for them to sign. Next one, Beth. So the seniors are all facing to our bleachers so that the audience can see them. And then with their help, we have the audience counts down from 5 and they all sign at one time. Go ahead, Beth. And then I always make sure that we have a real special guest speaker. I really have hunted around, but I have to tell you, last year's was the funnest because I think he gave the most, he just gave the best speech. It just really hit home with the students. And so he was our Lewis County legislative representative of Arnold, and he came up and spent the afternoon with us. But what happens is like Rosalie, I start out by explaining to the audience where this started from with Michelle Obama. And then I have just a little presentation, and then I let him take over. He gives the speech. And then what we do next is I bring each student up to the podium one by one, announce them so that they're recognized, where they're going to, what they're going to study. I just want them to feel that, we're all behind them and rooting them on. Next slide, Beth. As you can see, that's after they stood there. One of the colleges came and brought them t-shirts. And those are the 8th graders standing behind, of course. What's funny, I was looking at this. Some of the 8th graders behind there are seniors now. So that'll be kind of fun. I might have to show them this. Next slide, please. Okay. And that's what I was saying. The colleges have been great about attending and or sending swag out so that the kids are, got all their stuff for the day. Go ahead, Beth. Okay, this was funny. I cannot believe after this many years, 2016, I've started this since the beginning. So at our little social, we do cupcakes, and I make a pennant for every one of the students for what school they're going to and put it on the toothpick so it can go on their cupcakes. Well, it's gotten to when I hear the kids say, that's not my school, or the parents are now looking. So we make sure that we make plenty of each school so that everybody could, you know, pick their child or whoever they're there for, pin it. Go ahead, Beth. I think that's all I have. Any questions or not? It has become, I apologize about the pictures and things. We had better pictures. I was having a hard time getting them to download, but it is becoming one of my favorite. And last year when Barna was there, he said that more news media needs to come up and, you know, report on our event, because he'd never seen anything like that at the schools he's been to in Lewis County.
Well, thank you, Maureen. I love that. That's really great. I do, again, really love that you include lower grades. I have a question for both of you. Do either of you have you ever had the opportunity to include elementary school in any of the lead up activities or anything like that?
You know, we take our seniors over and they walk the hallway over there with the 8th graders prancing them in front to, that's about all we've done. But I
Yeah,
do think that some of them would love to come over to our event.
yeah.
And same here, Beth, our
Mhm.
seniors go down to their elementary schools, like a couple of days before graduation, but we've never had them come our way.
Does anyone have any other questions? No? All right, well, thank you again. I really appreciate that. I will be sending out the link that has, or sending out this presentation with some of those links that I mentioned to resources, and you can think about perhaps hosting an activity yourself at your school. We do have about 15 minutes left. We do have time for some breakout sessions. I wasn't sure what people were feeling like at this time. Typically, we have one of the breakout rooms reserved for technical assistance with Marcy and or Kelly. But I wasn't sure if there's any topics that people are interested in asking your colleagues about. So I was just going to open that up and find out if there's any particular topic.
So Beth, I didn't have something necessarily, but I just wanted to share something that I just recently saw in the last 48 hours that I'd never seen before. So for all of our students who are applying to 2- and 4-year schools, a lot of them are going to start getting verification paperwork that they have to submit for financial aid. And I had never seen one that required a student to have a form notarized to verify who they are. So they have to have like a social security card, a birth certificate, Washington state ID, and they have to actually have it notarized. And that's Eastern who's sending that out. So I'm not sure how common that's going to be since the class of 2017, but I had never seen a notary form required. And so I've just been reaching out. My first question for them is, do you bank somewhere? Because most banks will have a notary where they will do it free of charge. If not, the UPS store here requires $10 and an appointment to have it. So just a heads up that that's something that, and I called financial aid at Eastern thinking that maybe the student had maybe said they were international student or something and needed some additional verification. And they said, no, it was just a part of their kind of audit that they do for verification. So just a heads up that that's going to be something that you might be seeing.
That's good to know. And I will talk to Christina Winstead and the other folks on our division about that and find out if there's any information that I can share. Proceed.
Oh, sorry.
Rosalie, what about your district office? We have a notary at our district office.
Yeah, I will call down there. I thought about that earlier today, and I haven't verified whether or not they have someone there who is a notary, but good point, because some of their financial department might have someone who does that. Good. Thank you, Maureen, for saying that.
we noticed something that came through from a CC from a student too, that also had a notary that needed for that paperwork. And that was the first time I'd also seen that. So I don't know if it's something that a lot of schools are changing to or what's going on.
Sort of seems like they're creating more barriers.
Yeah,
But-
totally. I
Sorry.
mean, the verification forms were always difficult enough as it is, but
Yeah,
to add an additional step is, yeah, it's mind boggling.
yeah, I'll talk to Christina about that. It would be good to learn more about that and if there's ways around it or to prevent that from occurring. I'll find out more because, when we're working, with like first gen students and stuff, I don't want them to think they're doing something wrong and to let this deter them. Marcy, did you have?
Yeah,
Can you-
was the verification form specific to financial aid or was it for, okay, it was specific. Thank you. I wasn't clear about that.
Amy?
I was just gonna say, I myself am a notary, and if it's gonna be something that more and more colleges are going to require, it may be something that we could look at putting into our yearly work plan. It's really not expensive. There's not any really educational stuff required. You can read everything online, and it's about the school I was at previously paid for me to have it, and it was about $200 with my notary stamp, which I think is good for 2 or 3 years. And then there's a really small insurance, like liability insurance fee that's paid each year, but it's relatively inexpensive. If it becomes a thing where more and more schools are going to require that, it may be something that we looked at our directors having their notary license.
Mhm.
So Beth, are you able to allow me to share my screen? Because I have the form opened up because students have
Yes, I
been
will.
emailing them to me, and then just so give people a heads up of what that looks like.
Mhm.
So let me know if you can see it on your screen. So identity and statement. So maybe I wasn't accurate, Marcy. Maybe it's just an overall non-FAFSA related, but the email included other FAFSA forms. So I made the assumption that it was for FAFSA. But it just says here that you have to have it signed by a notary. And was it Christina who mentioned SEC required one also? So it's probably just
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
thing since the class of 2017 that for those of us who work in cohorts haven't seen since then.
Yeah, but it does
But I
say
don't remember the last couple of years.
from the financial.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It does say at the bottom financial aid.
Yeah. And the form that we had looked different, but I mean, it was still a part on there saying that this part needs to be,
Mhm.
have a notary for and everything. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, we will try to help you guys find someone. We'll figure it out one way or the other to try to help them out and see what we can do.
Right. And like I said, most banks will have them, and I will definitely call our district office because that's a great idea if there's someone who can. And Eastern said they can come and turn it in person, but that's a good 30-something minute drive from our school.
Well, the other thing I would wonder, and I'm not in the school system and I'm not a parent, but you have to show government issued ID and, not every student has a driver's license. Do you think that all of your students have some form of legal identification?
The 2 students I spoke to didn't even have a Washington State ID. They have their school ID. I did
Yeah.
ask Spokane Teachers Credit Union, and they said they would probably accept it with the student ID and one other document. So whether that was a social security
Yeah.
card or birth certificate or but I think my biggest thing was I in the years I've been in Europe just assumed the student had made a mistake and that mistake somehow initiated this, but it sounds like it's going to be something just standard for their verification process.
If I could just jump in, I'm our district's homeless liaison, and whenever I go to take kids to get a Washington State ID or they have to prove that they have some form of ID, a school authorized ID will work for all of that. So I don't see why it would not work for a university. In fact, I've used it for that as well, because it's recognized as a public institution. So it usually works.
Good to know. Well, I don't feel like we have a lot of time for a breakout. Do we have any other burning questions or conversation topics, maybe for the good of the group?
Beth, I have something I'd like to share.
Sure.
So I don't know how many of you have partnered with WorkSource, but WorkSource I've been partnering with, and they help cover the cost of things we can't, like paying for their dorm room deposits. My kids are struggling with that. Well, they were here today and signed 10 seniors up so they can help them with that deposit. Gas money. I mean, they have just been amazing. And I just wanted to share, if you've got a WorkSource in your area and they keep telling me that they have so much money, what makes them eligible for that support? Free and reduced. They're totally on our wavelength. It's just been amazing. I started connecting with them towards the middle of last year, and then they revamped it. So this year they're focusing on juniors and seniors. So free and reduced, and then they ask, and it's no documentation required. Do you have anxiety? Do you have depression? And all these kids, you know. So it's been amazing, and I've been wanting to share that, and I thought this is a perfect time to let you guys know. The one I'm working with is Lewis County. She does Lewis County and Thurston counties.
It's WorkSource.
WorkSource.
All
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that.
I've been
information.
wanting to try to get her on to give a presentation to us, because it's on, and clothes, like for their senior presentations that our students have to do, they buy outfits for them, a business outfit for the day too. They keep, but they get to wear that so that they're dressed up for the day.
Maureen, what kind of deposit did you say they pay for? Housing?
The housing that we can't do.
Wow.
They
I
pick
didn't-
up the housing.
Mhm.
It's just been, I've worked with them, like I said, now the last, full year, I'd say by now. And it's been unbelievable. And I have kids that are working, seniors that are working up at the White Pass ski area, which takes them, let's see, it's just shy of 30 miles from school, if that kind of gives you an idea. So she's going to help reimburse their gas because they're just making minimum wage. And I was like, wow. I mean, I have had students say, and they've had their parents call me, okay, what's wrong here? Something's not right. And I said, this is what I'm telling you. And I've worked with them, and this is what they follow through on. They'll help them either with work and or college. They'll do, like they said, if somebody needs work clothes, they're on it. So, and it's been very easy to fill out, except for, this is the other thing. When we were talking about the notary, I was thinking, I'm sure they could help with that. But if the kids don't have their birth certificate, so they're going to take a group of the kids down. I have a handful that don't, and they're going to take them down and get their certificates and pay for them, so that the kids will have that. They pay for driver's ed. I know that one caught my attention. So great resource.
Thank you for sharing that information. That's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I would like to just remind folks that we have 2 webinars scheduled in March. They are March 8th and March 22nd. They're on the calendar. They are scheduled from 12:30 to 2:30. And we will be sending out more information about those webinars soon. So you can get registered for them and know what to expect. Mercy, I see your hand up.
Also, we have our year 7 planning meetings in April. And remember that we changed the structure of that a little bit, so that we're going to do an East Side Schools meeting and a West Side Schools meeting. And I understand from a few folks that there are conflicts with which side of the state they're scheduled to attend. So if you can look at that calendar and talk to your admin who is required to attend, And if it looks like you can't attend the 2 dates on your side of the state, please let me know right away, because you could attend on the other side of the state instead, but we need to know that and plan for that. So I think the first week is the east side and the second week is the west side. So please look at those dates, make sure you have them confirmed. And if there are any conflicts at all, I need to know as soon as possible, so that we can make sure we have enough room at the venue.
Yes, and we'll be sending out more information about registering and making travel arrangements for those events. The April one is April 18th through the 19th in Spokane, or April 25th and 26th in Olympia. So we'll be getting you that information soon, but just to make sure your calendars are up to date. And there's a link in the bulletin at the top of the bulletin that links to our program calendar so that you can make sure that you have those dates. All right, well, I just want to again thank Maureen and Rosalie for sharing. It was really great to see such a fun and exciting and meaningful events. And if there's no other questions, we'll wrap it up and we will see you next month, and place your bets on whether the groundhog sees a shadow. I don't know. It's Washington. It's going to be dark. So that's tomorrow. But all right. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.